Here is the article that said vitamins are no good for you. This is from the Journal of the American Medical Association, February 28, 2007. And it says you're actually more likely to die if you're taking vitamins. Now, I was talking to Becca, who is on the camera, the one that you actually see me on, today before this program started. And we started talking about the forms in which vitamins come. Most vitamins I'm against. I'm against all those that are synthetic and not what are called food-based or food state. And the best one is food state, and you've heard me recommend the mega food vitamins because of their extraction process. And they are a little bit pricey. They do carry them at both Wild Oats and Whole Foods. I don't know about Lims at Capaco, and I certainly don't think that Shaw's or CVS or Stop and Shop or any of those, or BJ's carries the mega food vitamin, but they ought to. As you might imagine, the best costs more. My mother said, always buy the best and you'll never regret it, so I went out and spent $600 for a vacuum, and she almost fell over when I told her that because she thought, what a ridiculous child she has. She didn't expect me to go out and buy a Rolls Royce. I bought a Miele, M-I-E-L-E, and I am so happy with that vacuum. Maybe it's because I spent so much money on it, but the bottom line is it works great, and it's very agile, and it gets in, and it's one of those canister things, and I pull it around. People have their own favorites, and we have several fine vacuum stores, a couple here in West Hartford. Think about what vacuum you want to buy. But here, we're talking about synthetic vitamins. Take a look at your multivitamin. See if it says only, for vitamin E, D-alpha tocopherol. And worse yet, what if it says D-alpha tocopherol acetate or D-alpha tocopherol succinate? And if it says those two things, don't buy that vitamin and don't use that vitamin. Vitamin E has 8 components. It has 4 tocopherols and 4 tocotrienols. And by the way, the tocotrienols are actually pretty good at lowering cholesterol with another herbal product, 2 herbal products in combination that I've been recommending recently. Although I don't have much experience, what I read about it sort of impressed me. I'd read very good things about policosanol. Policosanol is not that strong at lowering cholesterol, P-O-L-I-C-O-S-A-N-O-L. But the product that I sort of like is Sytrinol, S-Y-T-R-I-N-O-L. Go on the web, go to Google, type in Sytrinol, and you'll see Sytrinol with policosanol, and that costs a little bit more. But I think that you could probably buy, you know, when you buy things in combination, it tends to cost you more as opposed to less if you buy them separately, but then you are taking more pills. So I think that if you bought Sytrinol and policosanol and took them together, you might get a decent response of your cholesterol, but remember what I told you the proper goal is. Subtract the good cholesterol, the HDL, from the total, and that number needs to be 90. Otherwise, you're not safe. I consider myself an abolitionist physician. I am not a physician for the reduction of the incidence of heart disease or diabetes. I am for their abolition. No more heart disease, no more diabetes, and you have to pick the numbers where that can be affected. I was trying to think, effectuated? I don't think so. But where you can actually make that occur. So not synthetic vitamins, not D-alpha tocopherol, not D-alpha tocopherol succinate, not D-alpha tocopherol acetate. You want all 4 tocopherols, alpha, beta, gamma, delta. You want alpha, beta, gamma, delta tocotrienols. And then if you can get it hooked up with selenium, and Mega Foods does have that as a supplement. Do I think that supplements are as good for you as food? Not really. We should be following an unprocessed whole foods diet. That trick of getting your weight down by a high-protein, low-carb diet is, to me, exactly that. High-protein diets are going to cause the bones to dissolve. It's going to predispose to the future development of high blood pressure. Yes, if it keeps your weight down, that is wonderful, and I support that. But it's sort of like that statement, 2 wrongs don't make a right. When you get down to where you should be, then start moving towards that unprocessed, whole vegetable, and ideally beans as some of your protein, which are full of fiber, full of antioxidants. The foods with the most antioxidants are beans. The next most full of antioxidant food are the grains, and then come the vegetables and the fruit. Now, there'll be this one who says, no, 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 it's pomegranate. No, 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 it's blueberries. It actually turns out to be red beans, and then after that, the grains, and red beans, navy beans, beans, grains, vegetables, fruit, and sort of in that order. There is a thing about the ORAC, O-R-A-C test, scale, whatever. And I don't think that that's what you need to do. If you were macrobiotic, you would be getting unprocessed whole grains, vegetables, beans, fruit, nuts, seeds, tiny little bit of fish. And what is tiny? The proper amount of animal protein for the human body is the size of your palm, that height, that width, and that thickness. Not the whole hand, just this length, width, and thickness. And I watched somebody on television, and what was his name? I think Royson was his name, or Rosen? Royson, I think was his name. And I talked about him on the last show. And he said the size of a deck of cards. That's pretty good. I don't mind that. But I think this is a little bit more fitting for each person. So use the size of your palm. Of course, if you go to the better restaurants around here, you get twice that for a serving. If you order tuna steak, if you order trout, if you order salmon, you get much larger servings than that. And if you didn't get the larger servings, you'd be complaining. Well, we need to get ourselves to understand first. We need less of that animal protein. Fine if you eat half of it, take half of it home. But remember, that size of animal protein twice a week. So what we're really talking about is getting your very adequate protein content from your grains and your beans, and even from strawberries and vegetables. There are good amounts of protein in them. So get natural vitamins. And I think the most natural form is the food state. That's what MegaFood calls it. I also like Natrol and New Chapter, but I still think that MegaFoods is the best one. Now, Little Pearl, we have Cine Studio, and of course here in West Hartford we're going to be having our own little art theater fairly soon. But don't forget Cine Studio. Unfortunately, I haven't been there in several years, but they have the best stuff, and they have all the things that won the Academy Awards, and I encourage you to go there. The Art Expo, this was sent to me, was held in New York this past weekend, and I got an excellent report on how interesting that was. Some people won't go there who are purists because they figure that if it's really high-quality art, it ought to be being sold in galleries. And this is very commercial. You go down there, buy these paintings, and they have these artists, and they have sculptors. And there is a commercial element, but there was always a commercial element. And in that sense of caveat emptor, buyer beware, the buyer should know where to look. Not beware, but should know where to look. And going to something like this will just sharpen up your taste a little bit.